All right, we're gonna work on the fuel tank here, and I laid out my feed line. It's going to be at this location right here, and this is the fixture coming out of the fuel tank. So what we have to do is get this little unit here inside the tank and this end to come out. So what we're going to do is take just some tie wire here. We're going to run it up through this tank and then take this and we're going to slide this on there and slide it down the wire, and hopefully we can get it to come out down there. Okay, we've got the wire out the top. Now we'll take this, we want it to go this way. Now to get it to come down here, we're going to have to pull this wire through. So what I'm going to have to do is put a kink in the wire there. Now we'll go ahead and pull this down through. We'll feed the little gasket on. Lock nut. All right, now that I've got the lock nut on there, now I can just take this wire and just pull it through. And there we have it. Now we'll just go ahead and cinch it down, make a good seal, and we'll be done. I've got the outlet installed. I'm going to put a hose on it. I'm going to go ahead and put some diesel fuel in this tank and make sure I don't have any leaks. All right, I've got some fuel in there, and I'm just going to let it sit right here for a while and come back later and see if I got any leakage whatsoever coming out of there. All right, what we see here is the wiring harness that came with the heater, and of course we don't need all this extended wire. And here's the controller that's going to go inside the trailer. Here's the fuel pump. So what we need to do is cut this down to a manageable size and do our wiring up inside the box. Now right over here is the receptacle, just like this one, that we use to plug in our cable that we made. So I'm going to cut all this down. There's one plug here that fits into the heater, one plug for the fuel pump, and then this one will be used inside the trailer. So we're going to cut all this down into about a foot length, and then we'll go ahead and hook it up to our receptacle there. I don't know what they cover this wire in, but this black material here is some pretty tough stuff. I'm having trouble cutting through it with my razor blade knife. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and prep these wires for putting some connectors on. Well, I've run into a bit of bad luck. These connectors on the back here are not the standard size of your typical connectors, splice-on connectors. Mine are too large, and I don't really want to wait and order some from eBay or Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and solder my wires on here and use some shrink wrap. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to cut off the camera. I'll go ahead and solder this all up. The actual one inside, and then we'll go from there. I've got my wiring harness soldered and wired up to the receptacle there. The only other connection, this will plug directly into the the heater, and this plugs into the fuel pump. Then all the rest of the connections will be on the other end in the trailer. All right, I've got my fuel tank, petcock there, or the outlet, and so I've decided where it's gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and start a pilot hole. I've got my hole for my fuel inlet. I've lined up the mounting holes for the tank itself, and so I'll go ahead and drill those. Those are 1/4-inch holes. I've got my gas tank mounted with the 3 bolts here. I got my inlet right there, and here's the fuel pump. Once the case is closed up and it's standing up, it'll be at a 45-degree angle as per the instructions. The heater is basically finished at this point. So now what I have to do is hook up the electrical connections and the controller inside the trailer. So let's go over to the trailer and look and see what I'm doing. All right, folks, I've got my installation done on the inside of the trailer. There was my receptacle there, the power plug. I've got it in conduit. In this open area right here is open to the outside. Then it goes up into my power feed, and this is a fuse box right here. I've got a 15 amp fuse for the heater right there, and then the power the control lines go back this way, up around, and then we'll pop up top here. They come up this area right here. So this is an open shelf area that I have. And there's the controller. I'll have some Velcro in the back here. So lock it into place right there. And then when I need to use it, I just pull it out, set my settings, and push it right back out of the way. So. I want to put this in this position here to direct the heat into the cabin instead of just underneath this cabinet. I drilled this hole with a 3-inch hole saw, and it's just a tad too small, so I'm going to have to take this rasp file and open it up just a little bit. That didn't take too much effort to open that up just a tad. Now I've got my vent there, and when you're not using the heater to seal it up, I've got just a simple 4-inch electrical gang box, a metal one, that just goes into place. There you go. Underneath here we have the intake for the hot air. It's just another one of those flanges. And then over here for the electrical, I've got a waterproof cover for the quick disconnect. It goes right there. And then when it's not being used, it's up like that. Now let's go ahead and hook up the unit and try it out. I've got the heater all hooked up, modifications inside complete. Let's go ahead and take a look what we got. We have the heater in place, exhaust pipe held up off the ground with a little cinder block, the hose going up into the trailer. Now let's go inside and look at the controller, and then we'll start this thing up. Inside we have our controller panel. If you have power and all the connections are correct, the screen will light up and you see a representation of the heater. We'll push the on button. It reads on, and now you'll see the fan blade start to turn, and then you'll see the intake and the exhaust flipping back and forth. So we'll watch it for a while. And at the same time that you start this process, the glow plug will start to heat up in the unit. And if you watch your controls on your battery consumption, you'll see the amperage go up, and we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. Right here on my shunt controller here, you'll see the amps being pulled. While that glow plug is starting to warm up, it starts pulling some amps there. Let's see what the maximum amp draw is on here. 9.8. Now it's dropped back to 9.6. So it does not go over, it does not pull over 10 amps, the glow plug, to start this thing up. Let's go back over to the controller. Right here you can see some little symbols right there, and that the heater is running completely now. You got an up down arrow and an up arrow, and that where you can set your how many pulses. So right now I've got it set pretty low at 2.4 pulses. That's on the low end. Outside here I can hear the pump operating, and the fan is starting to pick up. You can hear a faint thumping. I'll put the camera real close so you can hear it. When it first starts up, the exhaust is kind of smelly, but once that combustion chamber is completely heated up, you don't really smell it anymore. All right, let's give it a few minutes to get it fully up and going. Well, folks, we've run into a snafu here. The heater has shut itself down. There's an error code on the screen. It's an E05 and error code 05, and that's overheat of the shell. So I don't think I have enough ventilation holes in my case. So we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. I guess this is what happens when you throw something together that you don't buy off the shelf, huh? All right, over and out. When that error code does happen, the unit automatically turns itself off and then just runs the fan to cool off the combustion chamber in the shell. And then once it cools down to a certain amount, then it will completely turn off.